Thanks everybody for joining, and for those of you still entering. This is our third therapy session. What would be really helpful to invite Ryan Taylor. I'll get you to introduce yourself in a while. Yeah, been an interesting journey, doing something a little bit different in travel, and I just think it'd be really interesting to hear from him. So if you can just be thinking of some questions, we'll give 5 minutes at the end for questions to come through. In the meantime, Ryan, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about who you are, um, what your role is at Harbour, who Harbour are as well.
Sure. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ryan Taylor. I am Global Head of Travel at Harbour Energy. We are one of the largest independent oil and gas companies. We work across Europe, Latin America, North Africa, Asia. And I work within the corporate supply chain team. So I've got a bit of a dual role. So I look after strategic procurement for the travel category, and I also look after operational service delivery. I've been with the company for just coming up for 16 months. And I've worked in oil and gas, travel management and procurement for 25 plus years.
Excellent. So seen a lot and done a lot in that time. What's so I guess leading off with Ryan, we've been you've been with the company 16 months. It's a new program. Do you want to just give us a bit of an outline of where the program's at, some of the things that you're doing, just to give us a bit of a feeling for it?
So my role was created. The company, we've grown through acquisitions, and travel has never really been managed in a function. So, bit of a change in how things were going in the organization. And my role was created within corporate supply chain to really come in and look at what we do and how we do it today, but putting us in a position that, we acquired three companies last year. We are continually acquiring, as you've seen from the data. So really making sure that we've got a program that's fit for purpose today, but is also available, and we can manage any new business that we acquire. We can easily integrate them into our travel program. So my role was created to really come in and basically have a blank canvas at looking at what we do today. Not necessarily that our program is bad. It's just if it was fit for something 5 years ago, it's just not fit for it today. So really coming in and looking at how do we move forward. And the first thing for me was obviously looking at the travel management company. We've got multiple TMCs. Went through an extensive RFP process that you were part of, and we've got that down to we're implementing a new global travel management provider. But I didn't want to just lift and shift the travel to a new provider. I really wanted to interrogate what my team were doing today, what are we doing as a business, and what do we want to do moving forward. So a lot of engagement with the business to understand what did they need and want, but also what is out there that we can be different. And again, why I really wanted Unlock Data to be heavily involved in this process, because I wanted you to continually interrogate the decisions that I was saying this is how I wanted my operating model. And you interrogated me, there's no doubt about it, in a good way. But what's really interesting about that whole process for me and our business had recognized, I put together a model that I wanted. And now when we're starting to do the contracting and implementing our new TMC, it's a totally different model
Yeah,
because we've went and looked at absolutely everything. So it's been really interesting from that point of view.
yeah, and I think that so that kind of holistic view. There's a couple of things I wanted to bring for you to share today. Because I guess it's about data and to some extent about the hidden data. So when we did that sort of baseline analysis a year ago, pre the RFPs being launched and things, what, how did the actual once we finished the baseline amount you thought we're actually spending compare, you know, to give numbers, but kind of volume wise, in total percentage wise, compared to what we thought the original spend was when we kind of kicked it off?
Yeah. Um, I would say that our organization got a shock at when we presented the figures, because if you recall, I wanted to look at, so in my role as part of service delivery, I look after shared services as well for T&E and for corporate card, etc. And I really wanted to, from an acquisition that we had when I joined, I was inheriting the shared services for T&E. I kicked back and said, well, I'm happy to take it on, but what am I actually taking on here? I've got these FTEs. What does it actually cost for me having these people here? I'm not saying that I don't need them and I'm not going to keep them, but you want me to manage something, and I see visibility of our travel budgets across the globe. I don't own the budgets, I own my own, but I'm there as a business advisor to help you get the best out of your travel budget. That there also comes with a cost at the service I have to provide you. And everyone thinks, well, the TMC is expensive. It's such a small part of our spend. You know, our transaction fees are 2.3% of our overall spend. So that really wasn't something I was interested in. But then I wanted to really dive into, well, how much does it cost for shared services? How much does it cost to process the expenses? How much does it cost to process a corporate card for someone? Do the reconciliations. I really wanted to get that true picture. Um, and again, through working with yourselves, looking at the data, working with the team, and also we've got an external consultancy firm that's looking at, because again, going back to what I originally said, I didn't want to just lift my program and move it to a new TMC. I wanted to change it. And I also wanted to ask as well, what we're doing today, why are we doing it? And do we really need to be doing it this way? So we really quickly realized that about around 20%, roughly, and don't quote me on it because you'll get onto me about the number, but that's really what there's all this other hidden costs that nobody's visible of. And for the first time, I've been able to go to the business and say, this is how much it actually costs us to travel. And there's some exciting data that we can give to the business to say, you know, in our organization, we have to get crew to our offshore locations. We have to get corporate travelers to, meet with investors, to meet internally. So we're not saying not travel. We're just saying we need to think about how we're traveling because
Mm.
what actual cost. And it has been absolutely fascinating for the business, but for me, really seeing more about where my actual cost of the travel program is versus where every buyer typically thinks it's agency costs. Well, no, it's not. So it's been really
Yeah. And I think that I was blown away myself. We're doing the analysis, and you think so the agency cost might be 1 or 2% of the total, and your adoption's fairly low, so it could be even less than that for other organisations. You start adding in the cost of your expense tool, cost of people's time from doing their expenses and reviewing expenses, the cost of people processing the expenses on the other side, the cost of people going back to say your receipt was missing on that expense that you never did, and then they have respond back again, and the manager approves something else. And some work we were doing suggests that for the average expense claim, it's costing around at least 20%. I think the number's actually higher of that cost in just processing that from end to end. You think we get quite obsessed, you say, negotiating our hotel RFP or we do our agency RFP, and yet there's this massive hidden cost inside the business of people doing things to make the world go round, which are actually expensive, and B, no one's really challenging and the efficiency of that, and whether there's a better way of doing it. And I think that's why your whole process works really nicely.
And I think it's also, Dan, we have acquired organizations which have had to acquire their card programs, have had to acquire their expense program and platforms, which we are going to review all of that in Q4 this year to go out to bid to look at consolidating to one expense program. And you're absolutely right. That has been the business has now changed the mindset of what they're challenging me on. It's not about how low are your transaction fees or your management fee for the TMC. I've been able to actually put this overall view of the travel program, and I classify my program as not just the internal resource that I've got, but the external parties. So the TMC are an extension of my team, Unlock Data are an extension of my team, the expense technology, it's all extensions of my team that help us deliver that program. So there is a cost associated, and that's now what the leadership are. We never looked at this way previously, but you're absolutely right. And I'm really wanting to look at how can we be more creative and manage our costs from the whole end to end, as opposed to saying
Mm.
I've got the cheapest TMC transaction fees.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been
And there's a whole
interesting.
there's a danger of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Where you negotiate something down, take something a bit out of the process you don't need. For example, people booking on Booking.com or something, and we find at the back end every time they do that, it's costing us $10 because someone's got to check the VAT receipt, which wasn't being applied. You think you save pennies over here, and it's costing you pounds on the other side, which I just think so you follow these trains through, you keep uncovering these inefficiencies, and your organisation is all about trying to drive efficiency. So it's good timing, isn't it?
Yeah, and we are very, very big on how can we become more efficient as an organization? How can we automate and do things? So it has all came at the right time. And I think as well, we've got the right stakeholders that are interested to listen to us as well.
Yeah.
But how I get their attention is very simple. The data, we are, as you know, data hungry organization.
Data daft, as you normally say.
Data, that, I didn't want to say that on your on this session, but we are. And we've had some powerful data that we've been able to go and show the cost of our services. And that's helped when I've said, okay, we had this blank canvas, we put this model together, let's scrap that one and let's start all over again and look at what we can do from what the data's telling us. So
Excellent. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions. It's a good time to put it into the chat if you have. We're pretty much at time, but I'm sure while waiting for anything to come in, Ryan, we've got a bunch of travel managers on the phone and we'll listen to this afterwards. And you've done the role in many different organizations. Any kind of advice you give them in terms of thinking about that total cost and not just the travel element, but the whole kind of process? What tips would you give?
So I think the first thing, and I said this to you when we were on a business trip and you interviewed me previously, is, I will openly say I've never been a great lover of data. As you knew, you did have to take me kicking and screaming to get onto my data. Don't be afraid of your data, but also don't be afraid. I've worked in many organizations where they've not valued the travel function, and I'm very fortunate that my organization do, and there's a big need for it. But don't be afraid when you're looking. A lot of buyers that I interact and speak to is, oh, I would never get the budget for having an external data consolidator to come in and do it. I'm expected to do it. We're not data people as buyers. And also, you can never get a true cost of your data. If you look at the data sets that you have access to at Harbour, we have our own virtual card program. We have the expense data. We've got multiple ERP systems that we've got direct invoice and billing that comes for the offshore crew. You've got the TMC data. You've got the trying to pull all of that together, I think, and if you can demonstrate to your business, listen, I'm looking to challenge our program today so that we can ultimately be more efficient as an organization. But I have to spend money in order to save that money. And don't be afraid to show that relying on external help is not a failing in the program. It's using the expertise to help. And again, that's been a huge part. If you recall, when I said to you, I want you part of the scoring panel for the TMC, and even the TMCs were, well, why is that company here? Well, because you're part of my team that helps me come up with the solutions for my data. That comes at a cost. But I would just say to people that, even if you do have challenges internally trying to get that, show your business that you are willing to challenge your program to benefit the organization. And don't be afraid to say that you need external resources to help you, because we're not experts in everything.
No,
So asking for that help is not a failing as a travel buyer. It's actually showing your proactiveness, that you're leveraging on other skill sets that we all need, because the travel category is a challenging category to look after, and it's definitely not a failing asking for external help.
good advice for anyone, regardless whether that's data or something else. It's good leadership practice, isn't it? Work out what you're not good at, and then get help to do that. I think maybe a final point as we're wrapping up. I think um, a lot of travel managers struggle with getting improving their return on investment or getting the investment up front. I think this process has probably, the amount of potential savings and the efficiency savings have actually far outweighed the actual cost of putting the program in place, and but sometimes it's hard to know what that is. I mean, how in advance. So you were quite fortunate that you could get the investment first before you be actually proven what the investment was. I don't know if you want to just a tiny bit on ROI as we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate we got that because we didn't have a baseline that we could use with all the different data sets. So we had to put some assumption figures in as to what it was. And if you recall, when we went out to bid to look for a data partner, we wanted it done in two phases. Phase one was just really get us that, give us a baseline of what it is that we're doing with all
Yeah.
of our travel. We've got this figure, but actually we know that there's a lot more cost to the program. If you get us that figure, we're not necessarily saying we're going to do the next phase with you, but if you get us in a good place, and I think because we put some assumption figures in of what we're potentially looking at getting, and
Mm.
we were very, very conservative what we went back to the business in because we didn't know what we didn't know at that point. And then when we were able to take the data back into the business to show them, actually, this is what we've got. These are areas that we've got potential savings. It was easier to get the further investment that, you got taken on board to do a 6-month contract for us, and you're now a partner with us that's part of the team, and you've been pulled into other areas that we're looking at in our business that may directly and indirectly link into the T&E program, but there's other things that it's been so powerful just being able to, go to the leadership and say, I need X amount of budget to do this one-off project that I potentially think I'm going to save X. But then when I deliver that and show that there's actually a lot more than what I was potentially thinking that we could save, it was a bit easier to get the buy-in to get me that longer term budget to manage that. And we done a quarterly review this week with you and my leadership, and it's just been so powerful what we've had back from the leadership on
Mm.
things that we're looking at, the things that we can control, and also putting forward, areas that, like we said throughout this conversation, that we hadn't even looked about, that we are looking at now. And that is what excites my leadership. And,
Yeah.
we've got their buy-in in it, and it's been great for us.
Yeah. I've never been in a review where typically you kind of you talk about the future and it's like, what else might you buy from us to kind of turn it around and say, what else could you do for us? Anything else? Don't care if it's not T&E related, just come and help us. We've got some data problems over here, got some data problems over here. So kind of it's a really interesting turnaround, getting the ROI or getting the initial buy-in to then where could this go? Who knows what the future holds, but it's just it's been a really positive journey from both of us, I think.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Cool. Well, we've run over a few minutes. These are deliberately short and sweet sessions. So I really appreciate your time, Ryan. Thanks very much for joining us. We spent a bit of time together this week already trying to for this review, which so thanks for giving up even more time to do
Yeah.
this.
Well, thank you for me. It's been good.
Yeah, excellent. Really appreciate it. Next one is the 14th of May. I might get another client on that one, or I've got another idea of something we might do. We'll get the communication out, but the 14th of May, we'll go for a similar kind of slot for the guys in the US around this kind of time. Sorry I didn't get a chance to answer any questions, but I will get back to you individually for those of you who have messaged. Really appreciate your time. Thanks very much, everybody. Hope you have a good weekend, and
Thank you.
talk to you on the 14th of May.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks.